Hello and welcome to the Ilene Silverman Show. I'm your host Ilene, and on this week's program, our guests discuss the Matheson History Museum, their many programs, activities, and exhibits, and the special significance of their upcoming anniversary celebrations. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for our program. If you want to know anything about Gainesville, Alachua County, and surrounding regions, then you need to visit the Matheson History Museum. To tell us more, I'm pleased to introduce my guest, Dr. Anita Spring, President of the Board of Directors, Matheson History Museum. And it's wonderful to have you join us, Anita.
Oh, thank you, Ilene. I'm happy to be here.
Well, you know you've been involved in many things in Gainesville, but how long have you been a part of the Matheson History Museum?
Well, I was a board member for 5 years, and I'm in my second year of my presidency there.
Well done. You know, when you're a good president, they don't let you go.
I know. It's scary.
I know. But hey, this is a big year.
It's a very big year for us.
And congratulations
thank you. Let me tell
share
you why.
With us,
Yes. Well, it's the 150th anniversary of the Matheson House, which is one part of the Matheson History Museum. There are 4 parts to it, and I will explain those in just a little while.
Okay, perfect.
But the house itself was built in 1867.
Okay, taking us back, yes. And I've been to the house.
And
I hope
it's gorgeous.
If people have not visited, they should and they must.
They should and they must, and we give tours.
Okay, excellent.
So it's not something you go through by yourself, but these are guided tours. All you have to do is ask when the next one is, and you can get
free of charge.
Free of charge,
yes.
And I think people really enjoy this.
Oh, definitely. It's going back in time and quite a flavor, and this anniversary is going to take us back in time too. So
right, and it's also the 50th anniversary.
Okay, a double header.
And we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Okay, yes, indeed.
Of the Alachua Historical Society and the Matheson History Museum that followed it. So it's a big year for us.
This is.
Yeah, we're really excited.
Congrats.
We're really excited. So we have concocted something to celebrate this. There will be several concoctions and many celebrations.
Oh, good. I love to attend concoctions. Yes.
Yeah, you will like this one in particular. It's really a gala. And this gala is going to take place in November. We'll have the exact date pretty soon.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is we're going to have people start off having cocktails outside and around.
Right at the museum itself?
At the Matheson House.
Oh, okay.
Around the porch.
Okay, now I see it.
That lovely old-fashioned
porch.
They can have a tour. And then we will actually have the dinner inside the Matheson History Museum. Okay. Not very far away, about a block. Half a block. And what's interesting is we have concocted, if I may still use that term, a very, very interesting gourmet menu
Okay.
for this dinner. And it's a Keith Watson event, so
Oh.
you know it's going to be
A plus,
perfect.
yes.
A plus, A plus. And the food for this event is going to replicate the kinds of gourmet foods that people had at the time
Back in that
in
day.
Alachua County and environs in 1867.
Wow. Okay.
And
I
there'll be
see it.
many courses, and it'll be a very, very big deal. At the same time, we're going to have music from
Okay.
that era and from the various periods. Now, we
And-
have taken the 150 years
Right.
and we have divided them into decades.
Okay,
So,
most appropriate.
Yes, we have 15 of them. This is easy
Okay,
math.
right.
Very easy math. And so each table will be a different decade.
Oh, very fun. Oh, I can see Keith Watson involved in this one.
Yes,
This is going
each-
to be great.
Yes, and so people who want to talk about their family, let's say in the 1960s or in the 1880s, will pick that table if they like. I mean, people will mix and match
Right.
and so forth.
But
so
make it more
forth.
fun.
Make it more fun. And our board of directors and our advisory council are going to be dressed in period clothing.
Now that's going to really set the stage. And are you going to be honoring specific families that
Yes.
represent some of
Yes,
this time?
we have been doing our history research, historical research,
Appropriate.
and we have found that there are a number of families still in Gainesville, pretty prominent. I think you'll recognize some of the names, and they were here in 1867. So we would like to honor those families. And those are the Hale family, the Chestnut family,
Right.
the Thompson family,
Oh,
the
wow.
Harn/Coffrin family,
Right.
and there'll be others as well.
You're right, I do recognize some of them, but may
Yeah.
not have realized the far-reaching history, the deep roots here. So that's a lot to look forward to. I will be in attendance, but we have lots more to cover, Anita. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back talking about the Matheson History Museum, and I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Peggy McDonald, Executive Director, Matheson History Museum. And Peggy, I'm very glad you've joined us. And so much excitement about the Matheson. And you're a wonderful leader as Executive Director. And how long have you held that position?
2.5 years, and you could continue singing my praises.
Well, there's been a lot of excitement happening at the Matheson. I mean, Anita's telling us about the 150th anniversary, but all along in this last year or two, lots of exhibits, lots of programs, lots of activities for people. And because our mother's own history oral history is in the Matheson, I grew up in Gainesville, Matheson is very meaningful to me, I have to say. And I find that if people really want to know about our community, they need to visit your museum.
Thank you.
And so help us understand some of that very rich and valuable history going back to Sarah Matheson.
Well, Anita was talking about how the museum complex has 4 buildings, and one of them that's really the crown jewel, and yet it's also a hidden gem, is the Matheson House.
Right.
So it was completed in 1867, and the first couple to live there was James Douglas Matheson, and he fought in the Civil War under Robert E. Lee and was with him to the bitter end at Appomattox.
Wow, a history.
He was a lieutenant, and then he married Augusta Florida Steele Matheson, and she was the daughter of Augustus Steele, who founded Hillsborough County and Cedar Key.
Oh, okay, another whole connection. You've got this down. Okay. I follow.
Well, one of the fun things I get to do at the museum is give tours. I also serve as a docent at the Hale Homestead, and the Hale family and the Mathesons are connected.
Oh, I can see. So that all ties together.
Yes. So Augustus Steele's daughter, Augusta, he liked himself so much he shared his name with her, married James Douglas Matheson, and James Douglas Matheson's mother was Catherine Hale Matheson, so you could see the family connection.
Right.
And when you tour the house, you really learn a lot about early Gainesville and Alachua County history. So one thing is the connection Gainesville has to the Civil War. And many people think that the Civil War really didn't take place in Florida. But in the museum's backyard, we had the Battle of Gainesville in August 1864. So as you prepare to see the house, you can walk by the area where that battle took place.
Right. So it brings it all together. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And at the Matheson house, we start the tour outside, and now you see a beautiful house. But when James Douglas Matheson first lived there, he had about 10 acres of orange groves surrounding the house.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yes, beautiful.
Yes, many people came to Florida with the dream of having an orange grove, and he was one. Sadly, that dream came to an end during the Great Freeze of 1894 to 95. So most of the commercial citrus in North Florida was wiped out. But Matheson had a store in downtown Gainesville. I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yes.
And the Matheson dry goods store is recreated in the museum today. So if you go into the Matheson History Museum in the former American Legion Hall, you can see some of the items you might have seen at the Matheson store.
Oh, no, I've been there. And who are you greeted by usually when you... Sometimes you have somebody all dressed up from those times past.
We have done that.
You've done that in years past.
Yes, and we're going to do, as Anita said, more recreation with people dressing up for the Matheson House Gala. Fun. So the house is really unique also because it's a blend of 19th and 20th century. It's always been lived in, unlike many historic homes.
Interesting.
So Sarah Matheson was actually 27 years younger than her husband, Chris. And Chris was the only surviving, the only of the Matheson's children who survived into adulthood. So because he was the only surviving child, he married Sarah when he was older. They didn't have children. Right. Then Sarah had a real passion for Florida history. She was one of the founders of the Alachua County Historical Society, along with Helen Ellerby, the chief founder.
Right.
And then she was one of the founders of the museum. So she willed her house to first the Alachua County Historical Society and later the museum. They really are one and the same thing.
When they all blended, when they merged. Okay. And so we, the community, have the advantage of that house and all of its contents, which was part of her gift.
It is beautifully furnished.
It is.
There's period furniture from the 19th century and also the early 20th century. And then we have some unique museum pieces, including what is probably the oldest working refrigerator in Gainesville.
Now, if you haven't been to the house, people need to see it to get that sense. And we're going to take a quick break, but we have lots more to talk about. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back talking with Peggy McDonald, Executive Director, Matheson History Museum. And Peggy, there's, besides the Matheson House, there's other buildings in the complex. Just kind of give us a little quick tour.
Well, the newest building for us is another old building, as Anita said, the former Gainesville Gospel Tabernacle, which later became an antique store, and then the Melting Pot fondue restaurant.
Right.
And at our official unveiling, where there was nothing inside, but we were so glad the building was finished, Hope Musey, who is the former owner of the Melting Pot, and other people, the first employee, Rob Rothschild and Kathy DeWitt were there. And so that's a beautiful building for researchers or the public when they want to come and look at our old yearbooks, our collections. We have a wonderful library of Florida and local history. And then across the street in the former American Legion Hall building is still the Matheson History Museum.
Right, the main museum we would all recognize.
Yes, the red brick building, and that's for our programs and exhibitions.
Right.
Then we have the Tyson Tool Barn, and it's nestled right behind the Matheson House. And
I'm
it
good
looks
friends with the Tyson family.
Neat.
I love that tool barn. Yeah.
They are definitely one of the families that go way back in Alachua County history.
Yes.
Right now we have, we're so lucky, we have a wonderful new volunteer who's the former registrar at the Harn and teaches museum studies at UF, Dixie Nielsen. And she's bringing her students in to work on cataloging and
wow.
collections care. So we're really lucky.
All those tools. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Hundreds of tools dating back as far as 300 years.
Oh, yeah.
But Dixie
That's quite a
loves to play with
collection.
the tools.
Oh. See, so there's so much wonderful history in the buildings and all that's inside, and now you're going to celebrate 50 years of history.
50 years. So in addition to the 150th anniversary of the
Right.
Matheson House, it's been 50 years since the founding of the Alachua County Historical Society. And the first person who really got that going was Helen Ellerby, who was a librarian with the University of Florida. She was actually the first faculty member to take a leave,
Right.
so that she could start a library with the military, to secret base. So there was no internet for
history,
information.
yeah.
You need a librarian. And so one of the things that the Alachua County Historical Society did was to publish books on local history. So for that anniversary,
That's how people were communicating.
that's
through
right.
books, yes.
Old-fashioned book publishing.
Yes.
So we're doing just that.
Going back to that for your 50th anniversary.
That's right. One of our board members, May Clark, is also a retired librarian, and she has done the research, and she's written a wonderful book that is the history of Alachua County through the eyes of the 1885 copper lion statues.
Yes, I love how that all ties in. Tell us about those lions.
Well, there were twin lion statues on the north and south side of the old courthouse. This was the second
Way back,
courthouse.
right.
And sadly, it was demolished in stages between 1958 and 1961.
Yes, we were sad. Yes.
Some people, though, think that was the moment that
Right.
the historic preservation movement really got going.
So it had yes, it was a good springboard for that.
Right.
Maybe.
So a tragedy, but nobody wanted to let that happen again. So we still have what's now the Hippodrome in the old post office and federal courthouse.
Yes.
We still have the Thomas Center in the old Hotel Thomas.
I mean, cornerstones of our downtown. Really,
Absolutely.
And that whole historical district.
Right. And the book is illustrated by Justine Anderson, who is a master illustrator at SAW, the Sequential Artist Workshop. So it's a great partnership.
Right. Oh, so this, and now, tell us a little more. I know not everything's firmed up about the 50th anniversary celebration and how we can get the book. And
Thank you. Well, one of the big events is that we're going to have, in connection with our grand opening, we're going to have an event where Tom Thomas will talk about restoring the twin lion statues.
Right.
One of them is on loan to the museum, and the other can be seen at the county administration building. It's the last I noticed it was by the women's bathroom, so you have to be careful going into the bathroom.
Right, the lion will be there. And then there was the contest to name the lion.
That's right.
Right, which
And
has a
you've done
very
research.
appropriate name.
The winning entry by far, the public voted on it, was General Gaines.
I love it. Which used to be a restaurant in Gainesville too.
Isn't that
Yes.
something? So the statue, Tom Thomas will talk about that. Justine Anderson will talk about illustrating, and we'll have some of her work on display, on exhibit at the museum. And May Clark, the author of the book, will do a reading, and we'll have some lion-themed children's activities.
Oh, see, we are so fortunate in Gainesville to have all of these bright, intelligent people who are
Oh,
so
go on.
creative. And you're helping to bring them all together right there at the Matheson. And
It's a lot of fun.
I can tell. It creates great energy and a wonderful sense of history. So I thank you, Peggy, for all you're doing as executive director, as a leader in moving the knowledge of our history forward.
Thank you so much for letting us talk about all this fun on your show.
Oh, I appreciate it, and there's still more to come. Stay with us. We're talking about the Matheson History Museum with Board President Anita Spring. And Anita, thanks for joining us again, and so much excitement about the Matheson, but the programs, the exhibits, what's going on there, that's really what everybody is coming for. So tell us about some of those.
That's right. Let me say that the Matheson History Museum, the building on 513 on the south side
Right.
of the road, okay, that is going to have an expansion of exhibits.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Because the library and all the materials have moved across the street
So you have more
to the
space.
418 building.
Right.
So some people think that building has closed and moved across the street. No,
No,
we have
you've
two
got
buildings.
everything.
We've got
Yeah.
everything. So that's really cool.
Two sides of the street.
Right. So let me give you a list of the current exhibits.
Okay, please.
Okay. We have River of Dreams, St. John's River. We have the Matheson grocery store and traditional shop.
Right.
We have the Native American canoe and village. Those are some of the museum's exhibits right now. And there are other bits and pieces, medicine
Right.
bottles, all kinds of other things. But let me tell you what some of the upcoming exhibits
Right.
are.
Tease us.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are 4 of them. And by the way, the exhibit hall is going to be expanded into the Mary Ann Coffrin exhibit hall.
How gracious,
So,
first of all, of
Yes,
Mary Ann.
yes, she
She's
has
always been very
huge supporter
tied
of,
into the
of
museum.
the Matheson History Museum.
Yes.
So there are 4 exhibits. The first is an exhibit on Alachua County Schools desegregation.
Oh,
And
some
by the
interesting-
way,
yeah.
you know, there are people in Gainesville who have quote unquote artifacts and materials
lots of good-
and so forth that they could loan or donate to the museum. So we encourage everybody, especially people who might have gone to Lincoln or
Mabane,
yeah, that's
right.
another one, to come forward and loan the museum or donate to the museum some of these things.
Photos, yearbooks.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Letter sweater, all
Oh,
kind of
and
thing.
anything that
Okay.
you know celebrates that occurrence. The second one is very similar in terms of needing donations. It's the
Good.
sports history
Oh, that's going to
of
bring out a lot
Alachua
of fun
County
people.
schools, and PK Young gave us a Letterman's jacket,
Yeah.
and
Right, and there's a
we-
whole history of baseball. that-
and bands, you know, band
Yes.
uniforms, and the actual trophies
Oh,
could be loaned. That
yes.
would be a marvelous thing to see some of the trophies that these schools
Indeed.
won, and to either loan or donate those to the museum. Cheerleaders' outfits. I mean, you know, we can go on
Okay,
and on.
yes, yes.
The third one is the Johns Committee, which had, you know, very intense effects in
Right.
Gainesville. And the fourth one is on architecture of Gainesville.
Oh.
It's Gainesville mid-century.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes, so
that's
that's
the
another good.
20th century.
Right.
And Florida modern architecture in Gainesville was a leader, mostly because our School of Architecture. So people
Oh,
will
this is
find
all
houses they've
interesting.
seen, and they can go
Right.
around and drive and see these. It'll be quite fun.
Oh, we learn, we gain knowledge, and we enjoy ourselves.
That's
get
that's the point.
Yes, and interact.
And
That's
interact.
right.
And the way that a lot of people have enjoyed themselves at the museum has to do with this programming. And I must say, Peggy is a master
Yes, I
at
agree.
putting together a series of speakers. And let me just give you an example
Okay,
of
yeah.
a few of them. So, Dr. Jack Davis wrote a book. It was reviewed both in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal
Excellent.
within a week of each other. I thought that was extraordinary. And C-SPAN flew down here with the crew to film it
Right here in Gainesville.
right here at
Yes,
the
yeah.
Matheson Museum for its book TV program. And then another person, Lars Anderson,
well
gave a
known.
presentation, but then he gave tours of the river in a large boat and in canoes and in kayaking. Now I draw the line on kayaking, but the other,
Extended it. Yes,
they
yes.
were pretty
And
spectacular.
there's so much to cover. I know we're about out of town. Just mention time, Marty Gerard.
Marty Gerard, well, I was going to tell you about
Yeah.
Cynthia Barnett, Mirage, Blue Revolution, and Rain, but she baked cookies for her next
love
book,
her. She's such a
Seashells.
talent.
She is
Yes.
a talent. Marty Gerard actually chose the Matheson History Museum to have the launch of his book because his book, Music Everywhere, The Rock and Roll Roots of a Southern Town, is all about
there.
Gainesville.
Yes,
And
and that
Tom
Ameri-
Petty and the Allman Brothers all had concerts in
The-
that
the
building.
American
when
Legion
it was-
Hall.
Exactly.
Oh, I love how it comes
Exactly,
together.
exactly.
And there's so much more. I know, and I'm looking forward to that 150th anniversary celebration in early November. And so much as president, I congratulate you, your board, and everyone for bringing so much of this to our community. And we look forward to it, and we need to be there and support you also.
Oh, thank you, thank you. It's
Yes.
a good community. I think it will be a success.
It is, and thank you, Anita.
Thank you.
And I hope I will see you at the Matheson History Museum. I'm glad you tuned in, and I hope you'll join us next time. Take care.